Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into recent financial source material to separate all that fake internet guru noise from the cold, hard, mathematical reality of passive income. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the sheer volume of get-rich-quick schemes out there, yeah, you are in the right place. Today, we're extracting the real mechanics of dividend investing directly from the data. We'll look at how it actually performs over time and explore why slow and steady might just be your ultimate financial superpower.
Okay, let's dive into this. If you listen to the internet these days, building wealth apparently requires a pretty ridiculous set of steps. You know the drill. They tell you to stop buying groceries so you can eat motivation. They insist that if you just skip your $5 daily latte, you'll magically manifest $1.5 million. Then, naturally, you're supposed to buy a Lamborghini, flip it for a massive profit, live entirely inside an LLC, and, well, ultimately buy their limited-time course, right? But jokes aside, this toxic noise sets completely unrealistic expectations, and it completely distracts us from the actual mechanics of how wealth is really built.
The reality of building wealth? It's much slower, it's quieter, and it is utterly bound to the calendar. Like the old saying goes, the first best time to start investing was yesterday. Time is literally the heaviest weight on the scale of compound interest. The data shows us that if you wait until you're 45 to start saving, you're going to need to stash away exactly 3 times as much money as you would if you had just started at age 25. The mathematical reality is just unforgiving to procrastination. And that's why starting right now, exactly where you are, is absolutely crucial.
To really understand why we need to engineer our own passive income, just look at the traditional path. According to the statistics in our sources, the average retirement account generates less than $400 a month in income. That is only about $5,000 a year for the average retired person. Just think about that. $5,000 a year. That is a glaring gap between the traditional path and actual financial freedom. To survive, let alone actually thrive, our system has to aggressively outpace that baseline. We need a strategy that doesn't just rely on average returns.
Now let's see how this snowball builds using a real portfolio example from our sources. This shows the dividend income of an investor who aggressively front-loaded capital into the market during the previous year. So January brought in about $600. February bumped up to $877. But March, a massive $2,486. Because most high-yield dividend stocks pay out quarterly, months like March, June, September, and December become your heavy hitters. Sure, the income profile is a bit jagged month to month, but the overarching trend? It's a snowball actively growing heavier and faster as it rolls down the hill. And this brilliantly illustrates the mind-bending reality of compound interest at work. Let's just assume this same investor stops adding any new outside capital to their account entirely today. Nothing. They just let the portfolio sit there, automatically reinvesting those dividends back into the principal. Fast forward 20 years. That portfolio is mathematically projected to generate almost $48,000 a year in passive income. Plus, because of the way qualified dividends are taxed at those favorable capital gains rates, a massive chunk of that near $50K is shielded from standard income taxes. You essentially engineer your own private social security system just by sacrificing for a few years and letting the math take over.
But to build this kind of snowball without taking on casino-level risk, the source strategy entirely avoids single stocks. Instead, it utilizes ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, for instant, broad market diversification. Now, you might already be familiar with ETFs, but their strategic utility here really can't be overstated. By targeting specific dividend or broad market ETFs, you bypass the crazy volatility of just hoping a single company survives the decade. It's basically the ultimate tool for capturing the market's underlying momentum without having to make yourself a full-time stock analyst.
What's really interesting here is this playing card metaphor. Think of an ETF as a pristine, self-cleansing deck of cards. If you own single stocks, you're constantly stressing over every single card to make sure the underlying company isn't drifting toward bankruptcy, right? It requires constant active management. But an ETF is inherently automated. If one of the companies in that index starts failing or cuts its dividend, the fund automatically boots that bad card out and replaces it with a healthier, better-performing one. It is a self-cleansing engine that lets you fully automate your investments and actually sleep soundly at night. And you absolutely need that self-cleansing mechanism because, let's face it, picking single stocks is statistically treacherous. Consider this staggering fact from the data. 40% of all stocks since 1980 fell at least 70% and simply never recovered. Literally never bounced back. Even the so-called experts get this wrong. Back in the year 2000, Fortune magazine published an article highlighting their top 10 stocks to last the decade.
12 years later, a portfolio holding those exact 10 companies had lost a jaw-dropping 74% of its value. Past performance of a single company guarantees absolutely nothing about its future stability.
But you can't just blindly buy any ETF because that exposes you to the silent killer of wealth, which is expense ratios. Look at the data from our sources comparing popular fund fees. We have SCHD, which tracks the top 100 dividend companies, charging a microscopic 0.03%. Then there's SBHD, tracking low-volatility dividend stocks at 0.30%. Compare those to highly popular active growth funds, like ARK, which often charge around 0.75%. At first glance, a 0.75% fee on a growth fund sounds like a rounding error, right? It sounds like absolute pennies.
Well, the reality is it's absolutely not nothing. That seemingly tiny fee of 0.75% will mathematically translate to a massive 20% smaller portfolio when you factor it over a 30-year investing horizon. Think about that. Just 0.75% in active management fees means you will ultimately have 1/5 less wealth down the road. It just gets completely eaten up by the compounding gravity of the fee itself. When you're selecting ETFs for this strategy, reading the fine print and prioritizing microscopic expense ratios is just non-negotiable for long-term survival.
Ultimately, choosing to join the dark side of boring broad market dividend funds gives you a massive strategic advantage. Here is why this works so well. It's deeply reliable and predictable. You can actually map your real-world living expenses against your expected yield. And more importantly, it protects your principal investment. If you retire and a massive recession hits, like what we saw in 2008, growth investors are forced to sell off their underlying shares while the market is crashing just to buy groceries. But as a dividend investor, you don't sell a single share, you keep the golden goose, and you just eat the golden eggs.
This strategy also hands you a massive edge in a sideways market. Imagine the stock market just bounces up and down but generally goes nowhere for 10 whole years. A growth portfolio's value stays completely flat for a decade. But with dividend stocks, every single time you receive a payout, you automatically reinvest it to buy more shares at those stagnant prices. You are relentlessly accumulating more pieces of the pie while everyone else is just stuck flat. Even if your underlying ETF drops in price by 10%, as long as those companies maintain their payouts, your income stays completely stable relative to your initial capital.
Of course, personal finance is strictly personal. You have to lock in your own goals, your own risk tolerance, and your own timeline. But the math from these sources is incredibly clear, and the self-cleansing, predictable engine of compound interest is just waiting to be used. When you weigh the peace of mind that comes from an income stream you never have to sell against the stress of trying to time the market or, flip exotic cars, the choice becomes pretty obvious. So the real question isn't whether you can afford to start dividend investing today, it's whether you can afford the mathematical cost of waiting until tomorrow.